So Akai just announced Flex Beat for MPC Standalone, and I gotta say, this is probably the most creative plugin that Akai has put on the MPC in quite a while. In this video, we're gonna go over what is Flex Beat, how much does it cost, is it worth it, and a couple of best practices for you if you're using MPC with Flex Beat in Standalone. So what is Flex Beat? Well, Flex Beat is essentially 16 slots where you can load up these one-bar little mix and mangle creative loops, anything from DJ stuff, pitch effects, a whole bunch of other things, and you can chain together 16 different combinations of these, and you can really get some creative mixing and mangling on whatever you're gonna put it on. Now, if you own Flex Beat for the desktop that has been out for a little bit of time, you do get the standalone version for free, and if you end up buying the standalone version, you are going to get the desktop version for free as well. Right now, until the end of November, it is coming in at $40, which I think makes it incredibly worth it. After that, it's gonna go up to 80 bucks. So I would suggest if you have any interest in this, you get in on this intro price because you are going to get the standalone and the desktop version for free. So let's jump over into the MPC, check out how we install Flex Beat, where we can actually use it inside of the MPC, and a couple of little tricks and tips and best practices when you're using Flex Beat in MPC Standalone. So here we are on the MPC. Now, in order to see Flex Beat inside of your effects menu, we do have to do the usual by going into Menu, hitting Preferences, going up to Activate Plugins right here, scrolling all the way down to the bottom and see Flex Beat Player. Here you would simply just activate it and it will download and install onto your MPC. Then you have access to it in the effects menu. Now, Flex Beat is a standard effect, so you can actually load it in a couple of different places on your MPC. And I find the easiest way to load effects inside the MPC is simply hitting the little channel strip guy right up here, which is the eyeball. And we can load in Flex Beat on an individual drum pad, so an individual sound. We can load it on the entire drum program or any sort of program, whether it's drums or a virtual instrument. And we can also load it on the master here if we want to affect the entire beat. But for this, let's take a look at Flex Beat on a standard piano loop. So I'm going to go back to program right here and come over into my track number 2, which is a standard piano loop. Let's go ahead and load that up. Just tap the insert here. Click into it, go into harmonics, and go down to F, and you'll see Flex Beat Player. Now that that's loaded up, let's pull it up on the screen with a little pencil right here. Now, what we see right off the bat is Flex Beat essentially has 16 slots where you can load in different little one-bar effect loop ideas. Very similar to Trcks if you're familiar with Trcks. Now, technically it is 16 slots, but you should leave this lower one empty, so essentially you have 15 slots where you can load in a different one-bar effect idea. Now, there are a lot of different effects inside of Flex Beat. To go through each one, we don't have time in this video, but we will go through the list of presets and take a look at how they're organized. So when you put Flex Beat on your MPC, you have a general idea of where to find what you're looking for. Now, at the very top, we do have a couple of presets. Turntablist will load in a whole bunch of different scratch ideas. Gates will load in a bunch of different gate, so on and so forth. But we can customize each one of these to our liking, and then using automation, we can actually chain together these different pads to create more unique patterns. So let's come up here to the default. And really quickly, let's just take a listen to how some of these effects in the init patch can help bring this standard piano loop to life. Now, we can customize each one of these cells, so if we select a cell and go into Edit, we see that we have a couple of options. At the very top is where we're going to select the different effect we want to put on here. And just a quick scroll through here. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of different categories that you can go through in order to find the effect you're looking for. There's momentary effects, there is different patterns, there are stutters, there are flanging, there's pitch shifting, there is a whole bunch of stuff. There's gates, turntables, scratch effects. So as you can see, you're going to get lost in here. You're going to spend a lot of time going through and discovering new, cool, different effects that you can add to whatever you're adding it to. So I think kudos to Akai for adding so much different variety in here that will give people a lot of chance to spend a lot of time inside of Flex Beat while discovering more and more different patterns and different effects that they can add onto their thing. So by default, every cell is set to loop, but you can go ahead and change it to one shot, meaning that after you trigger one time, it will jump back to the previous cell that was selected. Now, one thing to note at the bottom of the screen here, it says when in edit mode, pads will loop during playback. This can kind of confuse people if you're not aware of it, meaning that if we come up here and turn the cell into one shot and then see what that would sound like, it's still going to constantly loop because we are in edit mode. In order to see how one shot works, let's get out of edit and go into performance, trigger it, trigger this one time, and we should see it jump back. So that's what one shot looks like. Again, if you're in edit mode, you won't actually see one shot be affected like that. You have to be in performance mode to see the one shot jump back to the previous cell. Now, if we come in here, let's say to scratch and go into hold, that means that you will only hear the effect when you're touching and holding on it. Now, you do have a wet and dry where this is going to blend everything that's happening in here with the original signal. This is really cool, especially when you're dealing with drums, because you can kind of get these really unique delays and stutters, but they're not completely overtaking the beat. It's more just like something in the background, or even using this on vocals as well is a really cool effect. Now, you do have the option to automate quite a bit of stuff in here. So if we come back into the main and go into our window, click on our little automation down here, and then go into add new program plugin, Flex Beat player, we can add automation for the dry wet, the pattern, and the quantize. However, for me, inside of the MPC, drawing in stuff has never been really my favorite thing to do, because it can be a little bit all over the place. And as you can see right here, it's just selecting a whole bunch of randomness with these patterns right here. So instead of that, I greatly prefer to actually use the right feature up here and then just hit the pad that I want to trigger at that moment. So let's undo all this kind of stuff. Let's turn the MPC into write mode on the top right here, and then go back into our Flex Beat. And now anytime we touch the screen, it's going to record that automation. So if we just wanted to trigger this gate effect, let's say on the last chord of our 4-chord progression, that would be as simple as playback. And then when we get to that 4th bar, we're going to trigger this. And since it is at one shot, so now when we trigger playback, all we have to do is just hit the pad when we want it. And since automation write is turned on, it's going to automatically remember what pad we hit. And then on playback, it's going to re-trigger that same sequence. All right, so what do you think? Is Flex Beat something that you plan on picking up and adding to your MPC standalone arsenal? Now, for me, I think it's extremely creative, and I plan on using it on a lot of things because it just gets me out of the routine of doing what I usually do on the MPC and gives me a different perspective, adds a little bit of rhythm, pitch downs, and there is so many different presets that I can go through. It's gonna just take a while to get through all those, and I'm sure along the way I'm gonna discover some pretty cool, unique sound design elements inside of Flex Beat. Now, if it's not for you, let me know in the comments down below what is your favorite plugin on MPC Standalone and why you would choose that over Flex Beat. Now, if you don't have an MPC and want to pick one up and also support the channel, there is a Zounds link down below where a little bit of your purchase comes back to help out the channel grow and keep going. I have a couple of things back here from Zounds. I love them because I can put things on monthly installments, and majority of the time they don't even run a credit check, so I can get things today and then pay them off over the course of time. Now, if you like this sort of content, make sure you like and subscribe down below. My name is Stu. This is Create, Educate, and Inspire, and like we always sign off on all of our videos, thanks for your time, thanks for your attention. Go pick up Flex Beat and mix and mangle and put it on everything in there and go make something cool.